Hey everyone, Chuck Toki. Hey, I want to go through the GAF roof in a bag. When you go through the roof in a bag, one of the things that you're going to want to look at is the residential roof guide. It really has everything in there, all the particulars, all the specs that you're going to need is right in the residential roofing guide. So you're going to want to make sure to go through that. Towards the back is where you're going to see a lot of this stuff right here, whether it's the ventilation, the underlayment, any of that stuff. All the specs are back here. Don't just watch this video and go out and start pitching. You're going to want to go in and do some research. Do yourself a favor and really get into your craft. Understand what you're selling. So I do want to go through this and how I would typically go through it in the home. So when I'm going through the roof in a bag, you do want to let them know that obviously, in most cases, this is what your decking is going to look like unless they have one buys or anything like that. And on top of that, you're going to have, now there's a space here that you're going to have your drip edge. You're going to want to take your drip edge and you're going to want to put it on the side. I don't have any right here, but you're going to want to put it along the side to show them that the drip edge attaches to the decking. And then everything else will go on top of the drip edge. If everything was there and the drip edge went on top of it, it would just kind of give it a mute point. Everything would go underneath the drip edge, which would not be good. So the next thing that you want to look at is the ice and weather shield. And typically you'll have storm guard, which will usually be there to go underneath a metal roof. Typically that's where I've seen it. Any other time I've seen the weather watch. And the weather watch is very nice. It comes in a 3 foot wide sheet, and so that it'll go all the way down through all the eaves, the valleys. I like to put it around any penetrations. I even like to put it along the rakes. This will not allow any water to penetrate through it, which is what it's for. What's nice with this is the fact that there is an adhesive backing. So obviously they'll strip the adhesive, they'll put it right down on the decking, and it's stuck straight to the decking. That it is not coming off. So that is your ice and weather shield. Then you want to look at your underlayment. Now with underlayment, most contractors are going to use felt paper. Guys, I don't care if it's 15-pound or 30-pound felt paper, there is truly, really no difference. When I am going through this with a homeowner, I will explain to them, I'll ask them, so what do you think underlayment is for? And they will typically say, oh, it's your last line of defense, it's going to protect the decking. Some people just have no idea. But the whole reason for underlayment is your last line of defense. If something were to happen to the shingles, the water gets past the shingles, that you want underlayment to make sure that it makes its way down to the edge of the roof. However, what do you think the reasoning for felt paper is? And if you think that the reasoning for felt paper is your last line of defense, think again. The felt paper, the reasoning for felt paper is to make sure that the shingles do not attach themselves to the decking, so that when we're ready to change the roof again in 20, 30 years, that it will be a whole lot easier for us to just scrape it right into a dumpster. And so that is the reason for felt paper. So when I look at, or when I talk to people about felt paper, I'll let them know. I say, hey, I want you to look at this as a simulation of a nail. And I'll take this and I'll go through there. And I'll ask them, I said, do you see sunlight or do you see daylight through there? And they're going to say yes. Do you think water can get through there? And they're going to say yes. So this is not your last line of defense by any means whatsoever. Now, with this being 15-pound felt paper, and once the crew gets it down, go ahead and rip this, and they'll take it and they'll rip it in half. And say, well, there's some companies out there that they're going to throw in 30-pound felt paper. So I want you to double that up. Now tear that in half. Was that any easier or any harder? No. So this is the whole reason for felt paper, is just to make sure that the shingles do not attach itself to the decking. Now, let's take a look at felt buster. This is a typical synthetic underlayment. It's woven. Now there's many different synthetics out there, but this is going to be a synthetic that you're going to see most often, which is in fact woven. And so what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to take the pen and I'm going to put it in there through there it goes. Can you see daylight through there? They're going to say no. Do you see, and obviously with the camera you probably can't, the felt buster is hugged around the pen. So when we shoot nails through here, it's going to shoot through there and it's going to hug around each and every one of those nails. It's going to make sure that there is a tight, airtight compression around that nail. Now, the other thing is go ahead and tear this. And they're going to sit there and they're going to try to rip it and tear it. You know, you're not going to be able to. At some point, yes, you get somebody strong enough, they can really, you know, put a lot of pressure on there. They may be able to tear it. I have seen a few people, not very many, but a few people be able to tear this. But that is a synthetic underlayment. And I'll ask them, you know, which one would you rather have on your roof? And they're going to say this one. And I'm going to ask them, even if it costs you a couple more pennies, and they're going to say, yeah, that's exactly what we want. All right. And I will take this and I'll leave it on the table, or I'll leave this on the table, you know, so that they understand that that's what they chose. The other options that they have a tiger paw. Tiger paw is a synthetic, and you know, it's not woven. You can see the difference when you get your roof in a bag. You might want to look at it. But this one is woven, and this one is not. This one here, you still can't tear it. And if I was to put, I don't want to do this because it's a little more expensive, but if I was to take the pen and put it through there, it would do the exact same thing. It's just a lot thicker and more durable than the felt buster. So it's one step up from it. Now, the ultimate in your underlayments, and it's the only breathable underlayment other than the ultimately, you know, breathable, because it's not keeping anything out. You know, this is the ultimate underlayment where it is allowing the roof to breathe through it. It's the only underlayment that allows the roof to breathe. Now, it is expensive. And on some of your larger roofs, people will say, yes, I want the deck armor. But the deck armor is by far the best underlayment on the market today. But the next thing you want to talk about is your Pro Start. Now, your Pro Start is your starter shingle. Now, if you're in insurance, typically what you're going to have is the insurance company is going to want to take you a 3-tab, flip it around, and then use that as the starter shingle. The problem with that is that the tar line is not this close to the edge. The whole reason for starter shingle is to be as close to the edge as possible so wind cannot lift this up. And then when it's on a rake, that is your wind envelope. So it's going to be along the rake to make sure that wind doesn't get in there and push the shingles up. So that would go on as your starter shingle. Again, you know, if you have a 3-tab roof inside of insurance, they're going to probably put that inside of your waist and just tell you that you need to take your 3-tab shingles, turn them upside down, and then use that as your starter shingle. It is not the best way of doing a starter shingle. Obviously, Pro Start, being a specialized starter shingle, is the best way of doing this. Now we're going to move on to the shingles itself. Now, with the new HDZ shingle, there's several different things here that you want to look at. On a GAF shingle, one of the telltales that this is a GAF shingle, and I really like this piece, is that you always have this shading right here. It gives the shingle some depth. Even on the Timberline HD, when it's all one color all the way across, it still gives it that depth, that really nice look to it. But when you're looking at the HDZ shingle, there's two things. You're going to see a much larger nailing area. And the reason why you want that larger nailing area is for the warranty itself. You want to make sure that when they nail that through, that it's nailing through all the layers of the shingle. That's the other thing about the HDZs, is that the lower part goes all the way up. So when it's nailing through, when you're nailing through this, you're going through all the layers of the shingle to make sure that when it gets really hot and the parts of the shingle get a little soft, that the shingle doesn't fall apart. And that's exactly what you're going to get here. It's, you know, when you're looking at the layer technology, and it also, you're going to start seeing the new wind warranty, where there's no maximum wind rating. You know, it goes all the way. It doesn't matter what it is. It'll go all the way up. The nice thing with the ridge. You have your ridge cap shingles. These are not, and a lot of people, what they will do with ridge caps is they'll take a 3-tab, they'll cut the tabs, and then they'll just fold them over. You're going to want to seal a ridge that is actually meant to seal each and every piece of the ridge cap. So what happens, you'll see that this is the color of the roof itself. They're going to bend this over on top of the vent. Get all this out of here. Yep. So this is your roof vent called Snow Country, and it's going to go over top of the ridge, and then the ridge cap is going to go over top of it, and then they're going to put ring shank nails through it to make sure that that is fastened to the Snow Country vent. And they're going to keep layering that all the way down the ridge. What I like about the Snow Country is all the technology that goes into the vent itself. You have the flanges on the sides. What that does is it makes sure that snow isn't blown into the ridge itself. That was one of the biggest issues with most ridge vents, is when we get called out and people are looking at their ceiling and there's this big long line all the way down their living room. And I already know what it is, so I jump up and it's exactly what I think it is. I can see sunlight right down through the ridge there, and I look down and there is snow, one big line of snow along their attic floor, their insulation, which has, you know, heated up, you know, it's melted and it's gone down through the drywall ceiling. The other nice thing is that critters, for the most part, cannot get into this. Now, I had some bats in my attic, and the guy that came out swore up and down that the bats were getting in through my ridge vent. Now, I knew better, because bats cannot get into this. The only way they're going to be able to get into this is through here if it is not closed off properly. But as far as them trying to get in through the sides, that will not happen. They're engineered that way. So the Snow Country is the best ridge vent that you can get. All right, happy selling.